Cece sat in the corner of her bakery, staring at the empty chairs and cold trays of bread that no one had bought. The smell of baked goods filled the air, but customers had stopped coming a long time ago. Tears stung her eyes as she looked at the pile of bills stacked on the counter, each one screaming louder than the last. Her dream had turned into a nightmare. She whispered to herself, "Maybe I should just close it down." Her voice cracked. This bakery had been her life for 20 years, but it had become a chain, pulling her deeper into debt. She had borrowed from friends, begged the bank, and even sold her jewelry. Yet, every day, the business drowned her more. As she sat there wiping her eyes, the bell above the bakery door jingled. A tall man walked in, dressed neatly in a simple suit. He glanced around the empty shop and then noticed Cece quickly hiding her tears. "Ma'am, are you okay?" the stranger asked softly. Cece straightened up quickly, embarrassed. "Oh, I'm fine. Just tired," she said, forcing a smile. The man didn't believe her, but didn't push. "I'm Steve," he introduced himself. "And you?" "Cece," she replied quietly. He sat at one of the empty tables and said, "1 cup of coffee and whatever bread you recommend." She nodded and hurried behind the counter, though her hands trembled as she prepared the order. When she placed the plate in front of him, he looked at her kindly. "You seem troubled," he said gently. Cece hesitated. For a moment, she thought of brushing it off, but the weight in her chest was too heavy. "My business is failing," she admitted in a whisper. "I've poured everything into this place, but I only get deeper and deeper into debt." Steve listened quietly, sipping his coffee before setting the cup down. "I understand the pain of loss," he said, "but sometimes life gives us new doors when old ones close." Cece frowned. "What do you mean?" He leaned closer. "Have you ever heard of cryptocurrency?" Cece blinked, confused. "Crypto? What?" Steve chuckled softly. "It's digital money. It's risky, yes, but if you learn and take courage, it can change lives." She shook her head. "I'm too old for all that technology." "Age doesn't matter," Steve said calmly. "Courage does. And I see courage in you." His words struck something deep inside her. "But what if I lose everything?" she asked in a trembling voice. He looked her straight in the eyes. "What do you have to lose now?" The silence that followed was louder than words. Cece thought of her failing shop, the empty chairs, and the bills waiting to crush her. Her throat tightened as she swallowed. "Tell me more," she finally said. Steve explained the basics: wallets, exchanges, the concept of buying and selling. At first, it sounded like another trick to steal money from desperate people. But something in his calm, honest manner made her listen. "Start small," Steve advised. "Only with what you can risk. No more, no less." That night, Cece couldn't sleep. His words echoed in her mind. "Age doesn't matter. Courage does." She whispered the words to herself in the dark, and by morning, she had made her decision. With shaking hands, she withdrew the last $500 she had saved and bought her first digital coins online. She felt like a fool, but she did it anyway. "This is madness," she muttered. But she remembered Steve's calm eyes and pushed forward. Days turned into weeks. Steve guided her through calls and messages, teaching her slowly. At first, nothing happened. Then, one morning, she checked her account and gasped. Her 500 had grown to 700. She blinked hard, refreshing the page. The number remained. Her heart raced. "It's real," she whispered. From that day, She reinvested every profit. She checked charts at night, prayed in the morning, and learned with every mistake. The bakery remained empty, but her hope grew. Months later, she opened her account and nearly dropped her phone. The screen read, $150,000. Cece covered her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. I'm rich, she whispered in disbelief. She paid off her debts quietly, not wanting anyone to know. She poured more into investments, and her money multiplied again. Before long, she was not just comfortable, she was wealthy. But soon, whispers started spreading in town. Neighbors watched her with suspicious eyes. How did Cece get rich all of a sudden? Some whispered. Others muttered, she must have found hidden gold. Or maybe she married a secret husband. Some even accused her of fraud. Her once quiet life turned noisy with gossip. Old friends suddenly reappeared. Cousins she hadn't heard from in years called her, all pretending to care. But Cece saw through their smiles. They only wanted money. At first, she helped. She gave loans. She offered small gifts. But soon, requests poured in like floods, and she realized their visits were not about her heart, only her wallet. She grew colder, keeping to herself, locking her doors and ignoring the knocks. One lonely evening, after turning away, another cousin who claimed to need urgent school fees, Cece returned to her room and found a letter slipped under her door. Her hands trembled as she picked it up. The envelope had no name, no address, only 2 words written in bold black ink. We know. Cece's breath caught in her throat. She looked around nervously, her heart racing. Who sent this? She whispered. Her phone buzzed. It was Steve. She quickly answered, her voice shaking. Steve. Someone knows. Someone knows about my money. There was silence on the line before he spoke. Be careful, Cece. Wealth attracts not only friends, but also enemies. Her hands trembled as she clutched the phone. The bakery, the town, even her home suddenly felt unsafe. She didn't realize it yet, but this was only the beginning of a storm that would change everything. Cece couldn't sleep that night. The words from the letter, "We know," echoed in her mind like a curse. She checked her doors 3 times, peered through the windows, and jumped at every little sound. For the first time, her wealth felt like a burden she couldn't carry. The next morning, she walked to the bakery with heavy steps. She found another letter waiting on the counter. This one said, "If you don't pay, the world will learn your secret." Her hands shook so badly, she almost dropped it. Someone was blackmailing her. She rushed to call Steve. "Steve, they're threatening me." "They want money," she cried. Steve's voice was calm, almost too calm. "Stay strong. Don't give in yet. Blackmailers always want more once you start paying." "But what if they expose me?" Cece asked. "Let them. You didn't do anything illegal." "But Cece," his voice lowered, "you must be careful who you trust. Sometimes the enemy is closer than you think." Those words unsettled her. She began to study the faces around her, the neighbors who smiled too brightly, the relatives who visited too often, even the bakery assistant she had recently hired. Could one of them be behind it? Days passed, and the threats grew worse. Notes appeared on her doorstep, her windows, even under her pillow one night. "How did they get into my room?" she whispered in terror. Finally, she decided to confront it. She wrote a message on a piece of paper. "Who are you? What do you want?" and left it at her doorstep. That evening, an answer came. $10,000, or everyone will know. Cece felt sick. 10,000 wasn't the problem. She had far more than that. The problem was control. If she gave in, she would never be free. She paced the floor all night until her phone rang. It was Steve again. "Don't pay them," he warned. "They will only bleed you dry. Let's meet. I'll help you set up stronger protections." She agreed to meet him at a quiet cafe. But when she arrived, Steve wasn't there. Instead, a young woman with sharp eyes approached her. "You're Cece, right?" the woman asked. Cece nodded, confused. "I'm Lila. I know about your fortune, and I know Steve." Cece's heart skipped. "You know Steve?" Lila smirked. "Of course, because Steve isn't who you think he is." The words hit Cece like ice. "What do you mean?" Lila leaned close and whispered, "Steve works with us. He brings us desperate people. Then we squeeze them until they break." Cece froze, her stomach twisting. "No, Steve helped me. He taught me." Lila laughed coldly. "Of course he did. He needed you to win first. Now he'll take it all back, unless you play along." Cece's knees nearly buckled. The man she trusted most, the one who told her courage does, was part of this. "Why are you telling me this?" Cece whispered. Lila's expression hardened. "Because I don't like how Steve runs things. I want his cut. If you work with me, I'll protect you. But you'll have to pay." Cece stumbled home in shock. Her world spun out of control. Who was lying? Steve, who seemed calm but distant, or Lila, whose boldness carried venom? That night, she decided to test them both. She called Steve. "Someone approached me. They said they know you." There was silence. Then Steve's voice, sharp for the first time, asked, "What exactly did they say?" Cece hesitated. "That you use people like me." Steve's tone shifted, softer, almost pleading. "Cece, listen to me. They're trying to turn you against me. Don't believe them. You're safe with me." But Cece heard something in his voice, a crack, a hesitation that sent chills down her spine. The following day, another letter arrived. This one was worse than the rest. It contained photographs, pictures of Cece entering the bank, withdrawing money, screenshots of her crypto account, even photos of her sitting in her own kitchen. Someone was watching her every move. Fear turned to anger. She wouldn't be a victim. That night, Cece set a trap. She left an envelope at her door, filled with blank papers and a note that said, "Here's the money, don't come again." Then she hid across the street, waiting in the dark. At midnight, a figure appeared. Her heart stopped as she recognized the familiar shape of his walk. It was Steve. He picked up the envelope and stuffed it into his jacket. Cece gasped aloud before she could stop herself. Steve froze and turned toward the sound, their eyes locked across the street. "Cece," he called. His voice was calm, too calm. "Come out. Let's talk." She shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "It was you, all along." Steve sighed and stepped closer. "It's not what you think. Yes, I left the notes. Yes, I pushed you. But I had to. Do you know why? Because you don't understand the danger you're in." Cece's voice cracked. "You betrayed me." He raised his hands slowly. "Listen, there are bigger players watching you now, people who want more than money. If I don't control you, they will, and they won't be kind." Cece's head spun. Could it be true, or was this another manipulation? Behind Steve, a sudden movement caught her eye. Another figure stepped from the shadows. It was Lila. She held a phone in her hand, recording. "See, Cece? Lila sneered. I told you. He's been playing you. And now I've got proof. Steve turned sharply. Lila, put that away. You'll ruin everything. No, Lila spat. I'll ruin you. In the chaos, Cece ran. She sprinted back into her bakery, locked the doors, and collapsed on the floor, gasping for breath. Her wealth had brought her enemies she never asked for, and now she didn't know who to trust. The next morning, the entire town buzzed. Someone had leaked the video of Steve collecting the fake envelope. Whispers grew louder. Cece is into something shady. She's not innocent. There's crime in her money. Reporters appeared at her bakery door. Friends turned their backs. Even family members sent angry messages demanding answers. Cece's wealth had turned from a blessing into a weapon against her. Alone in her bakery, Cece stared at the last loaf of bread she had baked, untouched and stale. All I wanted was peace, she whispered. Her phone rang again. Steve. Then a second call, from Lila. Two predators circling, both claiming to protect her, both demanding a price. Cece closed her eyes. She realized the truth. The real battle wasn't about money. It was about control, survival, and courage. She straightened her back, wiped her tears, and whispered, "They want to use me. But they'll learn Cece is no one's victim." And with that, she began to plan her next move. Before you watch the next video, kindly subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed yet. Please click on the subscribe button and like this video. Be a part of my channel's growth by clicking on the next video on the screen and drop a comment to let me know what you think about the story. Thank you for watching. Much appreciation.